everybody. I'm glad everybody's warmed up. Thank you and welcome to our study session this morning. There's a lot of communication this morning. That's great. Hopefully a lot of work got done. Before we start, I thought we'd take a moment of silence for those that were killed in the aviation accident. I know that a lot of us fly in and out of Reagan Airport, and that was a real tragic. And then also in commemorating Sergeant Jim Keeling's death as well. We had a funeral service for him yesterday. So take a moment of silence. Let's do that. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Tragically, maybe we might know someone that been on the aircraft that died last night. So with that, we'll pursue our study session. And so welcome to the Mesa City Council study session for January 30th, 2025. Councilmember Duff is unable to attend and excused from this meeting. All other council members are present. Thank you for being here. So this morning we'll go through the agenda. That's item 1 is to review the agenda we have for our Monday, February 3rd meeting. Let's go through the agenda and ask any questions. If you don't hear it, I'm going to ask one. 4A, if we could talk about the McKellips Road Sewer Relief Project, and I know that's about a $14.5 million project. Chris and Beth. I know there's been some concerns from developers, and so to talk about it publicly, I think is important. So thank you, Chris. I know you've been involved in this project.
Yes, Mayor, quite a bit. So good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. So this item is to build a relief sewer starting down at the intersection of McKellips and Gilbert. So this sewer right now, there's a manhole near this intersection that has 4 sewers that all come into it. And we know going back to 2018 when we did our master plan through modeling that it was nearing the end of capacity. So it was on our radar. We didn't put it into the CIP at that point because it just didn't rank high enough. There were a lot of other competing projects that went ahead of that, like replacing broken fire hydrants, replacing water mains that were beyond their useful life and so forth. But when we started our last master plan about 2 to 3 years ago, one of the first things we did is we deployed flow monitors throughout the service area. And this was one of the locations where we did that. And the flow monitor was suggesting that the sewer was out of capacity. Also, I should mention back in 2018, there was not a lot of development in the pipeline. So even though, sure, that the sewer is nearing the end of its, or running out of capacity, it wasn't a red flag for us. But when we put the flow monitor in about 2.5 years ago, it elevated itself in terms of priority in the CIP. So a couple years ago, we did initiate a project. The project has since been designed. A CMAR contractor was brought on board in that process. And we've negotiated, or engineering has negotiated a price with them. And that's why we're here today, to get approval to start construction on that project.
Good, thank you. I know that we didn't anticipate the future developments out in the Lehigh Crossings, Val Vista, and Thomas area in District 1, and so that put constraints on the capacity of the sewer system, obviously, and then the lift station as well. So the lift station out there is okay to handle everything moving forward?
Right, correct, Mayor. So the Lehigh lift station, we've examined that pretty closely over the last month. It has ample reserve capacity. I know there's one development where we did have a meeting where that development, because it sits down in a depressed area, needs its own lift station. So anytime you get a lift station pumping directly into a lift station, you start to amplify the effects of the peaks, but that's not a problem that we can't overcome. You can use a bigger wet well. There's just engineering approaches that you can use to overcome that, so it's not a big deal. But the Lehigh lift station has reserve capacity.
Good. I think that's important for District 1 that Mr. Adams, he can manage that now, that I can push that over to his plate. So thank you.
And Mayor, also, if I will, one question is, I think a point of confusion that's come up, because now there is a lot of...
let's explain that for the developers out there.
I think that's good. There's a lot of development in the pipeline now. So fortunately, a couple of years ago, we did initiate the project, so we are where we're at today, we have a contractor ready to start building it. So we have what's called an approval to construct from the county Environmental Services Division. That's required to do any project of this nature. So we're required to have that. We do. And developers, if they're going to build infrastructure, water, sewer, they have to have an approval to construct. So we've created a situation where we communicate with the county that, yes, we have this project and we're moving forward and it's starting construction. That allows these developers to also get an approval to construct. It's just, they can go through the development process just like they normally would, go through the permitting process, build their project. It's just if they're done slightly ahead of us, they can't connect yet. Because the sewer, when I say it's out of capacity, that's no exaggeration. We have what's called the smart manhole cover on there, so it has the analytics and the technology to just get real-time information on what the flow is doing. And any given day like today, it's going to be surcharged into the manhole a few inches. So any development that comes on, we run the risk of overflowing that sewage.
That's probably not a good idea.
We would not want to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's what's a little different in this case. In the past, we probably would just say you can't even start your project, but we have a situation now where, sure, you can completely build your project while we're building ours. We're doing this in parallel. It's just if you're done slightly ahead of us. And also Beth might be able to talk to this. We're going to shoot for substantial completion as soon as the sewer is built and functional, even though there's more roadway work to do and other things to do to finish the project. As long as the sewer is functional, that would be a trigger then to allow the developers to connect.
Okay.
So, Mayor, members of the council, yes, he's very correct because the sewer is a priority. We need to get the sewer in, but you may also remember, it seems like it was just yesterday, honestly, but I know it was over a year ago. We had a water main break at this intersection. The pavement was affected at the time that water main break occurred. So once the sewer is in and operational and we have substantial on the sewer, we're going to start work on other parts of that area, including replacing the pavement and also decommissioning some other lines that are under the pavement, take them out of service. So there's more work there just to manage expectations. We'll be out very soon, Councilmember Adams, doing a public meeting and outreach with note cards and individual visits with the businesses and everything along the alignment. So you'll see that happen. But the barricades won't just be there for the sewer. There's more work to be done.
Can you provide, this is going to be approved Monday, so is there a timeline for construction? And then how long is the construction going to last? Because I know when I was a council member in that area, our emails lit up with the intersection tearing up, and Gilbert and McKellips is a pretty busy intersection.
Yes, I'm aware. Thank you, Mayor. We are looking to start in the March, April timeframe as soon as the contractor can get bonds and insurance, get the contract signed and mobilized. We're going to move. There are quite a few pump arounds on this project as we build the line. So there's some strategic work we're doing right now to set up the construction sequencing. But shortly thereafter, March, April timeframe, we're going to start construction, and it is projected to be a 16-month project. That's based on what we know today. I just like to remind everybody this is a mature street, and there are a lot of utilities underground. And every time we open a trench, we find something we didn't know about. So we do find things we don't always know about. So we work to get those barricades in and out, minimize disruption at the intersection, which can be difficult for people trying to get where they're going. So, but we will be having a public meeting to address it and talking to folks. And then we'll be working with our PIO to start a social media campaign as well. So any of your assistants that could work with us on that, that would be very helpful too.
Good. Councilmember Adams?
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the 16-month projection, but I've personally learned that I never start a plumbing project at home where I don't have at least 2 days available to finish it.
Yes.
There's always a surprise, so I understand that and I appreciate that. If you would kindly, please keep me in the loop on any of these neighborhood meetings with businesses. Absolutely, we will work on the social media. And to the extent that I'm available, I'm happy to visit with any businesses that express any concerns. I know that there's a very full parking lot there at the northwest corner of Gilbert and McKellips almost all the time. So, and I'm assuming, and in fact, I know that we'll accommodate business access. Do you anticipate any of those businesses to be placed in a position where they may not have access for a day, days, or anything like that?
Mayor, Councilmember Adams, we don't currently anticipate that. There will be at times where they might lose a driveway and things like that. It's been our goal for the time that I've been with the city that we don't restrict businesses. They're kind of very important to our community, and we work pretty hard with them to make sure we still have access. I can't guarantee things, but I know that there will be things happen in the field, and if there are any calls, please or any problems, let me know. And I've got a very talented small group of PIO staff that work with us on these projects and keep everybody apprised. And if they're having issues, we'll get out there and get barricades moved. We'll figure out a way to make it work. I do anticipate we will have some restricted lefts and some of those types of things that do come up when we work in intersections.
Understood. Yeah, I'm happy to help with any of the community outreach that would be helpful to keep folks as informed as possible. So please keep me in the loop. Waiting for my
appreciate that.
inbox to light up. So
Thank you very much. We appreciate all your help. Anything you can do to help us is great.
Well, it sounds like, Ms. Huni, you'll be here for the next 15 months.
Well, not really.
Oh, that's why she's starting.
I do have a plan. I have a plan.
Very good. Thank you. All right, anything else, council? Yeah. Any agenda item?
Yeah, I have a question on 8B with the new presentation on the streetlights, Eric. Yeah. And you and I have talked about this a couple different times, how the street's going to change and things like that. But this is a new slide for Monday. So, and I just wanted to make sure my understanding of what was happening wasn't changing. So on the streets, any improvements and the streetlights, what we're doing with that. And then remind me about jurisdiction. Who's-
Sure. Mayor, Councilmember Goforth, Eric Kadarian, Assistant Transportation Director. This is a new slide to the presentation. We've had a few meetings as staff, and going back, we reviewed the dark skies ordinance for the desert uplands area. We found that in the updated ordinance from 2017, there's a new parenthetical statement for the dark skies area that includes all of McDowell. The area for it is bounded by Haas, McDowell, and then essentially Ellsworth Road or Usury Pass on the east. McDowell Road is now inclusive in that area, so we're not going to be requiring streetlights along the frontage of McDowell.
Right.
There'll be one streetlight that the HOA will need to maintain at their entrance, but there will be no streetlights along McDowell Road. McDowell Road in this section is a county road. It's not under the jurisdiction of the city, but there will be streetlights on Haas Road south of McDowell along their frontage.
And is that because it's not within?
It's because it's
desert uplands.
Councilmember, it's because it's south of McDowell Road. It's not within that dark skies area.
And because it's necessary? I mean, you know.
Yeah. Yes, we believe that there should be street lighting. It'll be at the reduced level that I talked about at the council meeting previously in the overnight areas, overnight hours. But we believe that along arterial roadways, there should be street lighting.
But Hawes is probably arguably a smaller street than McDowell, right? So.
It is. But it is designated as an arterial road.
And if you look at it, there are no streetlights currently until you get down to past Hermosa Vista, I think it is, and Mountain Bridge. and then they're on one side, they're on the west side. So are we in control of where they're going, which side they're, I mean, are we dictating that, and where will that be? Will it be on the west or the east side of the road
For this development,
for the streetlights?
yeah, for Carmelo itself,
Yeah.
it'll be on the side that Carmelo is.
Okay.
Because that's the side that's developing and building out.
Interesting. Because if you look at the Mountain Bridge development, that's a little bit further south, it's a City of Mesa development, there's no streetlights on that side. You don't have to have them on both sides, is that, we only put them on one side? Because they're on the west side, across from Mountain, but I guess what I'm saying is
Understood.
maybe,
They can be on either side. It depends on the lighting study and how the design happens.
Okay.
And I'm not a streetlight expert, but I'll
Yeah.
give you my, yeah, there's a study that's done before the streetlights are put in to make sure that the whole roadway and right-of-way has enough lighting everywhere. Now, if we can do that from just one side of the street, we will do that. If we need both sides of the street, if they need to be from the median, that just depends on the design and the
Yeah.
light fixture.
I guess, and I mean, I know these are details, but this is very important to the people who live out there, obviously. That's why it's in the Desert Upland Guidelines. So I just would really advise that if it's unnecessary, that we don't do it, right? I mean, if the ultimate, I mean, to me, yeah, McDowell's a much bigger road, it's busier. I know they're both categorized as arterials, but if it's unnecessary there, if we could take a second look on why it would be necessary on Haas.
So, Mayor, Councilmember Goforth, I don't think we're saying they're not necessary on McDowell. What we're saying is there's a policy that exempts them. I think if you were to ask
Okay,
a professional traffic person, because we've had this debate for many years,
yeah,
and the position even back then, and it probably would be today, is yes, from a standards of visibility and safety, they are necessary. The council made a policy to exempt certain areas from the streetlights or to modify them. So we're not saying, we still haven't changed our position that they're not necessary, but in respect to the policy that identifies this area as the dark sky ordinance. And what happened is that changed that McDowell was a parenthetical addition,
and
which
when
then
was
took
that
it.
again? You said 2017?
Yeah, and it took it from being at the road to inclusive of the entire road. So that was kind of a change that, you know, it was, did it go down to the edge of the road or did it go across, you know, to the other side? And the parenthetical seemed to suggest it went from, included the entire road.
And that's why we do have streetlights on McDowell Road to the east.
Yeah,
Because
right.
that development happened before
The
that change to the
2017.
ordinance.
Yeah. And that was a council change. Yeah, it just seems a little arbitrary, doesn't it? You
No,
know, they're
it's just
here,
it's what-
they're not here.
No,
I
it's
mean,
just,
what-
that's council policy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not, I wouldn't call it arbitrary. I think there was reasons for it. But again, the policy of the city across the whole city
Yeah.
is consistent. And we recommend streetlights for a lot of reasons. You know, it's interesting because there's other parts of the city that keep wanting us to put more streetlights in. They want more, you know, light for safety and visibility. And so I think it's in the context of when you live in this part of the city, I think people are there, you know, they enjoy that.
That's absolutely right,
Right,
which is
so-
why we treat them differently.
So that's why I don't think it's arbitrary,
Yeah.
right? I think there's in context.
Well, I mean, within that area, it seems to
But
be,
again,
right? I mean,
well, no, it's a timing of when things happen, right? If this is not a dark sky ordinance area, we will recommend lights.
yeah.
Did the council always, I wasn't around in 2017, but maybe they thought this corner was never going to be developed.
Right.
I mean, but how do you ever know? But I mean, you can see why, like, yeah, don't put streetlights on this dirt lot that's now going to be full of houses and people, so
Yeah, but yet, right, just to the south, where there's still a lot of dark sky, you know, I mean, it's not a mile away. It's,
Yeah, go ahead.
you know,
Understood.
so,
And
Mayor and Council, if I may ask, so you have to draw a line somewhere, right? And so that's what the council did back then, and I don't remember this change to the ordinance. But if you look on north, that corner, as you go north and east, that's mostly county. And so as you go south, you're back into the city. And so, and I don't know why, we looked at the council report, we can't find out why the parenthetical was added. I'll say this also, it's important, it's in the city code, and the lighting is in the city code in part, I'll tell you also, for liability purposes. And so when you do a dark skies, you'll see it in most cities' ordinances, so that if there are accidents or incidents, you can say it was a legislative act. It was a legislative decision to not put streetlights on that street. And so that's why, and you have to pick a line. And so in 2017, they added a parenthetical to clarify where that line exactly is. And so we looked at it and we believe that street now does not require street lights. In fact, it says will not have street lights. And so that was a legislative act. And it's clear that the Hawes Road still requires the lights.
Okay, I understand. Don't necessarily agree, but I do understand. Okay, that's the only question I had, because that was the only new slide, I believe, right, Mary?
That's correct.
Okay.
Can I ask a question really quick?
I think Councilmember
Oh, you
Adams,
have-
did you have something? We'll go to you.
Yes, real quickly. I don't mean to be the contrarian here, but I'm leaning in the direction of the argument, or the questions that Councilmember Goforth has raised here. I understand all the reasons for the policy, and I understand what you just described to us, Mr. Smith. But it seems to me, I was interested enough in this after it was discussed earlier to get in the car at about 9:30 one night and drive out there, drive the circle. Noticed the dark skies area of McDowell versus the part with the street lights. Understand why they're there, earlier rules and regulations. But just from a practical common sense standpoint, I'm going to agree with Councilmember Goforth here that there's always room for reasonable exception. So that's my only comment. Thank you.
Ms. Pillsbury.
I guess that was kind of my question was, do neighborhoods or areas get to have a say? Because I feel like in other areas in the city, they have a say on what happens in their neighborhood as far as streetlights go. We've seen neighborhoods fight back against streetlights. So I'm wondering how much of this is like has to happen versus do they have a say? If they really don't want lights on Hawes, do they have to have lights on Hawes?
Question?
Councilmember Spills.
The city attorney answered the question, right? It's in the code.
Well,
we
I
could-
didn't hear if that was like it can be a policy, but is it have to be enforced? Is there any leeway on here? No, I'm serious.
Well,
I know of neighborhoods.
I understand, but I would say
They
when you
get
say
to have a
something's in
say.
the code, our responsibility, our answer has to be yes, we're going to enforce the code. When the council creates a policy that exempts it, we'll follow that. But again, there was a due diligence process that decided where that line would be and why that was distinctive. I mean, it was a long, drawn-out process, the dark sky ordinance. It wasn't just because of one project, it was an entire area. And so I think if we were to change the policy, we need to look at a comprehensive view, because you kind of have to have a linkage, why this area, not other areas. Trying to do this on a one-off creates a nightmare as far as administrating this, because then you get into this conflict of, well, you have a code, and then what drives the exception? And that becomes very difficult, right? We've worked with neighbors on Ellsworth Road that didn't like the lighting, and we've worked with the technology of being able to
Dim.
dim it down,
and
and works,
shield.
but we still have streetlights there. And so
Yeah.
it still works for the drivers, but it avoids the impact to the backyards of residents. So it's not just what the residents, I mean, we also are looking after those who are driving on public streets, and that consistency of that experience throughout the city also.
Well, and I totally, to your point, you might have this many people that want the streetlights and this many people that don't, right? Like, it's hard to find like a consensus for an area anyways, and then that doesn't include all the drivers that would be driving on the street. So, I mean, I get that. I guess I just was wondering, is there any room for an exemption? But I guess not.
So another thought is, I mean, it'll take time, but we can look at expanding the dark skies ordinance so that it includes Hawes further south down and include additional area, but, that would take transportation. It's obviously going to take them time to construct this development, and if transportation can look at that analysis and we can bring a change to the code before they get to the point in which they're doing their streetlight improvements, well, then the code would change, and then they wouldn't have to be put in the streetlights, and we can sort of work with them. Maybe that's their last phase, and if that's something council wants us to, wants staff to look at.
Yeah, because there's quite a bit of County Island, even to the south and west. I mean, I know you said that there's a lot to the northeast, but there's still, I mean, this is surrounded by County Island until you get about to Hermosa Vista. So, yeah, I think it would be I certainly think it would be worth it to them. And I understand people are driving through, but I see that you put the people that live there as a priority when you make these decisions and not the people that are driving through. I understand there's liability when it comes to our streets and we have to make them safe, but the people that live there are experiencing it every day, and we really should prioritize them above, in my opinion, the ones that are just driving through. So I guess I'll talk to you further about it, maybe,
Yeah,
Jim, and
yeah.
how we can do
Well,
something.
I think we can handle it right here, and we can give direction to make a modification to the dark sky ordinance, because we didn't anticipate any future development, in 2017. And I'm always an advocate of less lighting for specific neighborhoods. Like, I use my street, I don't have any street lights, and I like it. But that's me. But looking at the dark sky ordinance, I think we can expand that. And Jim's right, that the construction's not going to start tomorrow.
Right.
And so we have time to review this ordinance and see if we want to expand it.
Well, and I'd say I'd like transportation to actually look at some sort of, it'd be based on some sort of study or some sort of analysis to figure out where the new line is. I don't think it should just be drawn from,
Yeah, exactly.
so.
And I think we'll have to
We
go
could-
back. We had a streetlight master plan that looked at the entire city done in the 2018, 2019 timeframe. I believe this ordinance was put in place right before we did this, so we could do some pilot projects in the Desert Upland area. I'm not familiar with it. We'll need to go back and review it and look at it, but we can get back with that information.
So with that said, Mr. Brady, you have some consensus on council just to look at the dark sky ordinance and modification
Yeah,
to
no,
it?
we
Do we do
certainly
that?
do that, but I think, I don't want to be, I want to be careful not to represent that that's just I don't know the timing of this. We're all here
Yeah.
saying, making an assumption. Mr. Blanford may be ready to roll the next week, I don't know. And so when you approve this, the question, when we're approving it with the streetlights, and that the question is, as by the time we get through the study, and we have to study it. It can't just be, oh, we have one subdivision,
Right.
let's change the ordinance. You're going to get challenged, and it's going to create a huge liability for us because we didn't do a due diligence, we didn't do community outreach, we didn't evaluate the impact. So we can do that, and we can commence that. But I guess what I'm saying is Monday, you would be approving it as is in conformance with current law, current code, and with the limitations of the boundaries of the dark sky ordinance, but with this idea that we would proceed with a study of the dark sky area, I don't know what it's called.
I'm pretty sure that from the developer's standpoint, not having, this is our requirement as a city, right? So I'm pretty sure that we're not going to miss the boat on him wanting to put up streetlights, I guess, is what I'm saying.
No, what
We
I
have
guess what I'm
some
saying
time.
is you're going to be approving it, though, with the streetlights on.
Is there a way to approve it contingent upon the study being done and it not being necessary, something like that?
Well, I think that's what would, yeah.
It's being approved compliance with the city code, and so if we change the city code before they put the streetlights in, then that
Then
requirement
it
will
takes
fall
care of
off.
itself, yeah.
It'll take care of itself.
Are we good with that?
What point of a development do streetlights go in?
Probably very last, I imagine.
Kind of at the end?
Although he's pulling the power and stuff.
Okay.
It is. The streetlights getting energized are usually one of the last things before the road opens.
But he has to do all the underground, he has to do all the work initially,
Yeah, the conduit will go in before they
yeah.
put down any of the pavement.
Well, that may be a cost they have to incur if we're not going to do the dark sky ordinance for them, so. I think Mr. Lake has his marching orders over there and city staff, so we could look into that.
That'd be great, yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, any other things on the agenda on Monday?
Mayor,
Yes, sir. Vice Mayor.
I've had some questions on 6C that most of have been answered. 6C is just it's a rezoning from EO to general industrial for a project that's actually already built and for industrial. My last question, just looking at this, Mary, on the site plan, because the reason for this is they need a lay-down area outside, outdoor storage area in this, which is suitable. But as I'm looking at the site plan, it looks pretty tight. Do you have any idea where they're going to put this area? And in particular, I want to make sure that we're protecting the rail easement that's on the north side of this.
Yeah, Mayor, Freeman Council, we don't have a specific site plan at this point because, as you
Right.
said, those buildings are built. But generally, what they've been looking at is that the northernmost portion of that lot, where there's a large parking area to the east, that's a lot of where that they're thinking right now. That could change when they come in with the specific site plan, because right now they don't have a user with the specifics of where that site plan is going.
Okay. My only concern on this, and I just want to make sure before we approve this on Monday, is that whatever their plan is, that they're not going to be impinging on the rail easement.
Councilmember Summers, thank you. Yes, we can look at that when they come in with that specific site plan to ensure that that access is maintained.
Okay, because we definitely want to protect that. All right, very good, thank you.
Okay, anything else, council, for Monday? Okay, hearing none, we'll move over to item 2 is a presentation update on the city's new community cleanup program. Sherry and Cynthia.
Okay, good morning, Mayor, Council. My name is Sherry Collins, and I'm the Solid Waste Director. And with me, I have Cynthia Escura. She's the Community Engagement Administrator for Community Services. And we're here today to give you an update on the Community Cleanup Program. So before I get started on the Community Cleanup Program, I just want to give you a little bit of background on how we got here. So Solid Waste has a current program. It's our neighborhood cleanup program. These are the large roll-off containers that you'll see out in the neighborhoods. They're white. And that program is an application-based program. So one of the members of the community will fill out an application and submit it to Solid Waste, and they'll go in a queue to receive some of these roll-off containers. This program is extremely popular and has a great demand. So the demand was exceeding the resources. And there were long wait times on that. So this really told us that there was a need to do something more. So with that, we came up with a community cleanup program. And so about a year ago, we came to you and we presented this program to you. So today we're here to tell you about the launch of it. So the goal of the community cleanup program was to increase capacity throughout the city for these services in collaboration with community services. So some of the things that we looked at is we wanted to take a targeted approach to this. So we started out targeting in low to moderate income areas, and then looking at a 5-year look back of what communities had used our neighborhood cleanup program before, so we weren't in there multiple times. The communities that knew about the neighborhood cleanup program knew about the neighborhood cleanup program, and a lot of them are repeat customers. So we wanted to reach customers different parts of the city who did not know about that. We knew that we might have to pivot a little bit once we got going with this program and look at maybe 4 years or 3 years. So initially, we're starting with a 5-year. And then working with community engagement was so important because they have such a vast knowledge of the neighborhoods and which neighborhoods are engaged, which neighborhoods aren't engaged, maybe which neighborhoods they're seeking to engage. So looking at multiple facets on how we implement this program. Oops, excuse me. So now that we knew there was a need, we identified a need, we came up with a program, we needed to find a brand for the program. And so we created a brand for the program. We put these containers, we painted these containers bright yellow to make them different than the program we had. I'm very excited about the bright yellow, I like it, but it makes it stand out, you know, so it's a different type of program. And then we created a logo for the program. So now we have our brand. And now I'm gonna turn it over to Cynthia to cover some more parts of the launch.
Good morning, Mayor Freeman, Vice Mayor, and council members. I get the pleasure of talking to you about the Community Cleanup Program and where we're at today. So first of all, I want to thank and acknowledge Solid Waste, Sherry and her team, and my team, because this is really a labor of love, working with this and creating such a program, a robust program for our community. When we were told that we were going to work with solid waste, we were very excited. We were more excited when we bring anything out to the community for our neighborhoods, right? We wanted to be able to create a program that was going to be useful and kind of, piggyback on the neighborhood cleanup program. And as Sherry mentioned, 55% of the residents using the neighborhood cleanup program are repeat. And so they know the program very, very well. From a community engagement standpoint, when they said, can you help and put these in neighborhoods that have not had clean sweep before or not very much in the last 5 years, we said, sure. We knew exactly where we wanted to put the containers. However, we needed the data to support where we were going to put these containers. So we went back to solid waste and we said, we need the location of the containers for the last 5 years. So community engagement started thinking, where are we going to put this information? Where are we going to put it? We already had a neighborhood registration database. And so what you see here in front of you, this, I call it our masterpiece of neighborhoods. We work with neighborhoods to help them identify, register, and so that's our way of communicating and tracking our neighborhoods. We have about 617 registered neighborhoods that include traditional neighborhoods and HOA. So that's what you're looking at here. So we said, why don't we already use this database that we have? So we got the information from Solid Waste and we brought in Tom Jensen. So shout out to Tom Jensen in IT. We got with him and we said, hey, this is what we need. We need to be able to put this information in our database to see where the neighborhood cleanup programs have been and where our community cleanups are going. And so we created layers so we're able to see this. So not only is community engagement able to see this, we're able to share this with Solid Waste. So they were able to put their information as well in there. So we launched the community cleanup program December 9th of last year. We are putting 4 containers out for approximately 60 homes. The program is running Monday through Thursday. We are wanting to make sure that this program is successful. So to date, we just started. We have placed 24 containers out in neighborhoods that are serving 257 households. So what you see here is we wanted to make sure that we distributed the containers evenly. So this database really helped us be strategic where we place the containers. So the green dots, since we just started the program, the green dots that you're looking at are where the containers have been. The yellow dots are where the containers are going. And so going through this and with the database that is helping us with the information where the containers, neighborhood cleanup containers have been, where we're able to place them, we're really going to be looking at these neighborhoods that have not been able to use the neighborhood cleanup program for whatever reason, or they've, maybe it's been a while since they've used those containers. So this gives you a bird's eye view of what we're looking at when we're placing the containers. We're really working, this program is, like I said, it really took a village to put this together, and we're working and making sure that we communicate with Solid Waste, so that way when we're looking at the neighborhoods and we're placing them in here, they get this information so the driver can go out and place the containers. So you're probably wondering, well, how are residents being notified about the community cleanup program? So we are mailing out postcards 2 weeks in advance. From a community engagement standpoint, we don't want to mail them out too early because people are going to forget. So we're timing them and we're sending them out every week according to our schedule to make sure that they receive a postcard. The postcard is in English and in Spanish. It has the date of the, when the containers are coming. It also has the placement, where they're going to be placed in the neighborhood. There's a QR code that's attached to the postcard that they can go back to, and then there's a website. And on this website, it explains the program. It has the most common questions that maybe a resident might have about cleanup, like what's allowed to go in the cleanup. And so there's drop down to that. We also have our phone number and our email on there, and we're available to answer any calls. They might call us and say they need help. They maybe it's an elderly resident says, I've got some stuff in my third bedroom and I can't get it out. So we will make arrangements to see what we can do to help them do that. And so one of the things that we want to do is we want to continue to monitor the program. What this database is going to tell us, too, is which neighborhoods are really using the community cleanup program. If we are getting containers that are empty, we need to look at why. And we want to determine maybe they didn't need the 4 containers. Maybe this area only needed a couple. If the containers are getting overloaded, then again, we need to see why, and maybe they need more containers. So this database is really going to help us track so we're more efficient and that we're able to put the right amount of containers in the neighborhoods. And we know that every neighborhood is different, and so they may not need as many neighborhoods. And we are very proud that so far there have been no overloads on the containers. There have been nothing put on the side or on the sidewalk to block the sidewalk, and so they're actually being used and they're going in the container. So we're very happy on that. So our goal was always not just to place the containers for residents to use and get rid of their trash. Our goal was to make sure that they understood the program and that when they went to our website, that they could see other resources like household hazardous waste, and also the bulk item program too. So there's other resources that they can use besides the community cleanup program.
Cynthia, question, Vice Mayor.
Cynthia, this is great. This reminds me a little bit of the neighborhood stabilization program we had more than a decade ago when we were fighting actually too many abandoned houses, right? Couldn't sell them. A lot of trash was being put out and dumped, and this was kind of part of that program. One of the struggles I know that neighbors have is, when you get rid of a big piece of furniture or a mattress or something, if you don't have a truck, there's nowhere to haul it to, or you don't know where to haul it to, so it ends up in your backyard, and then it just starts to pile up. One thing that I did notice for this program is it goes, you said there's one dumpster every 4 houses, I believe, every few houses on certain streets. Just looking at my district, Superstition Springs is going to have one pretty soon. Interesting that it's in Ian's neighborhood. And Ian, you just got one? Didn't you also get fiber first, I remember? Your neighborhood seems to get well served. We should talk.
You should move into his neighborhood.
I should move back to his neighborhood. So when I see that, one of the concerns I have, so Superstition Springs is a whole community. It's about 1 square mile as an example. And the concern I have is that, so it's in that particular neighborhood on a series of streets because it hasn't been served in a while. But the branding color of yellow, everybody's going to notice, hey, there's a dumpster over here, put it in the back of their neighbor's truck, drive it over there, and then we might get some overpiling. As we get into these communities, particularly, I know in District 6 and as you get east, most of these are HOAs, that maybe we could add a few dumpsters for the entire community and put them in common areas. For example, Superstition Springs, we have a park, we have a library, there's a school. Maybe we could partner with them to say, here's maybe some community dumpsters in addition to the particular neighborhood that we're focusing on is a possibility as we get in here.
So can I just make
Yeah.
one quick? Because one of the fears we have about this program, and it's real, once word gets out, we get a lot of commercial and non-resident contributions to these. So that's kind of like in a way, by having them, and what you're saying kind of makes sense, but on the other hand, by having it right in the neighborhood, it kind of has a tendency to have more eyes on it, and we're always struggling with that, right? Because these commercial landscapers, whatever, they'll follow us around and they'll use, because that's free dumping. So it's kind of this balance of making it very convenient, but at the same time not getting abused, because it's amazing how fast these roll-offs fill up in a neighborhood. But then you look and see what's inside you and go, this didn't come from the neighborhood. So we're trying to make it work for the neighborhood without necessarily being a free commercial dump, I guess. So it's we're trying to figure out that balance. And the further we get it away where a lot of eyes are on it, that's where we get into, unfortunately, some abuse by others. So that's just our balance.
Yeah, I think on the flip side too, though, some of the commercial dumpsters are getting filled by residential junk too. We've seen that. I've fielded complaints from that, not recently, so this isn't anything new. But if you have you don't know where to take your junk, it's like, oh, just bring it up to the school and dump it in their dumpster type of thing. So, I mean, it's always a balance, and I agree with you. I don't want to pay for, the commercial industry should be dumping, but the other part of that problem, not having enough of these dumpsters, is they're dumping it on Pecos Road, they're dumping it along Meridian up against the county, because we get complaints from time to time too, that people are just taking it out there and dumping it in the desert, and then we end up having to clean it up anyway. So I would just ask to look at that, and I know that might incur a cost. Maybe we should put up some temporary cameras to see who we're catching doing the illegal.
We've talked about that in a few places. This is a unique program because the other roll-off program is all funded by the solid waste utility fee. So part of this is this balance of being sensitive fees. Now, however, and this was a council initiated program, I guess I'm trying to figure out how to say it, but where we wanted to, the problem was, Sherry, we come and talk about the program, and everybody goes, hey, I'm trying to get these roll-offs, and you can't get them because they're booked out a year in advance. And
Well, we didn't have the containers too.
Right, well, yeah, and then but we knew that there were neighborhoods, I think as Cynthia said, that had just not had an opportunity, or we hadn't experienced having containers there for more than 5 years, and that became our priority in trying to spread that across the city. So that's where we're trying to focus, right? We're trying to get into those neighborhoods. Ideally, my big aspiration is that eventually over time, this is just I don't know if it's quarterly, but we're just going around the whole city with this on a regular basis, right? Instead of doing, what do they call it? The curbside bulk pickup, which just makes a neighborhood look literally like a trash dump. This could be an option, right? And so the idea is kind of keep experimenting with this, over time keep adding more roll-offs, which take a lot of time to get. But as we do that, we can increase the frequency getting it across the whole city. And that just seems like a very more measured, kind of a controlled response for bulk items.
Okay. Ms. Spilsbury.
Some of my questions were answered in that, but thank you for this because you know how excited I am about this. I love stuff we can get into the neighborhoods and help them out. How long are they there for in a neighborhood? Is it 2 weeks?
Mayor Freeman, Councilmember Spilsbury, they're there for, they get set on Monday and they get removed on Thursday.
Okay, so just for 4
Just for,
4
yeah,
days.
and like I said, they receive notification 2 weeks prior. That gives them 2 weekends.
Okay.
To make arrangements and get everything ready. And it's enough time for them to get their stuff in. One of the things that we found, I've been working with neighborhoods for a long time, and as great as the neighborhood cleanup program is, one of the complaints that we used to receive was, especially when you were in a more dense area of Mesa, was we have an event going on, a family gathering going on, and we got these dumpsters on the street.
Right.
And so why are they here over the weekend? And then on the flip side, or why aren't they here on the weekend type of thing? And we found that either way, people are going to find time to get rid of whatever they want to get rid of, right? And so this is enough time. And then, like I said, we are targeting these neighborhoods that have not had neighborhood cleanups or in the last 5 years. So we want them to have the opportunity to use the containers first. Do they need help? What do they need help with? Do they really understand the program? We don't want them to be overloaded, so.
Are you getting calls of people that need help? I mean,
Not yet, but
Okay.
we just started, and one of the things that we want to monitor too is we do get seasonal guests that come in and live on the east side. So we're going to monitor all this to see how this is being used, and are there areas that are using it less, areas that are using it more, and what's the trend right now? We get to see that now with the neighborhood cleanup program, that when we put this in the database, we can see where they're going. And so it's just been really been a fun program to work on behind the scenes.
In my head, I think it would make more sense to do a Thursday to a Monday so that you're there over the weekend so people have time to go through their garages and their house, whatever. But yeah, I mean, you've been doing this, so I guess you know. But so we've put 24 out, so that means we've hit 6 neighborhoods essentially, right? And so how many total dumpsters do we have right now? Like how many can we do at a time?
Mayor, Councilmember Spilsbury, right now, we are taking a targeted approach, so we're sticking with the 4 because, again.
So you only
we
have
don't-
4 at a time?
We have 4 at a time right now. Our goal is to expand it as we can, but what the other program that we have has almost like a leader because they have an application process and there's some kind of responsibility and ownership to that. With just putting these out in the community, one of our worries was that we didn't want to create a program that then created more stuff in the neighborhood around the dumpsters and they would be overloaded.
Okay.
So that's something we didn't want to do. So we really want to take several months to really get a good handle on it and see how the behavior of the community is going to be with these to know how we can expand it. So when and where we can expand it, that is our goal, to expand it to reach more homes.
Do we currently have more than 4 containers for this, though?
We did purchase more than 4 at the time that we bought these so that we would be ready for the expansion when we could do that.
And
24, right?
Well, we've put out 24.
So
There's-
Sherry, define, okay, so we have this program.
Neighborhood.
And
But
then we
then you
still
have
have
the
the
existing
neighborhood.
program. How many total can be out there on the
Yeah.
street right now?
Yeah,
Oh.
that's fun.
Yeah, so the neighborhood cleanup program, which is our white
Yellow.
roll-offs.
Oh, the white.
The white ones,
Jeez,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I
So-
think that's where people were getting
Yeah,
confused
so
because you have the yellow and the
the
white.
white box-
Neighborhood cleanup versus community
Right,
cleanup.
right.
Okay.
So hopefully one day we can just have one community cleanup, like Mr. Brady said, and
Okay.
just do it
Yeah.
across the community. That's
Okay,
also my
that'd be
goal.
good.
So the white box program, which is the application-based program right
Neighbors
now.
sign it to get it.
Correct, and
yeah,
that is very
scheduled.
popular. We have at any time 3 events going. So
Okay.
we will have 24 containers on the ground for that program.
Okay.
With the introduction of the yellow box program, the community cleanup program, right now we are doing 4 per week. So just 4 on any given day. But again, our goal is to expand it.
expand that.
We did buy extra boxes so that we're like, oh, we have the opportunity to expand it. We don't have to order them and wait for them to come in. We have them, but
And we have capacity with the roll-off trucks to get them there and back, like that's not an issue right now anyways.
Correct, to a certain expansion point, right?
Okay.
And then once we get to that point, then we will need to decide, we can get through the first year. And once we get to that point, then we'll need to decide how we're gonna maybe expand it into year 2. I do know the lead times on those trucks are getting a little bit better too, where I think more of like an 18-month, 24-month. If Mike was here, he'd tell me for sure. But I know we're getting a little bit better on that as well. But we do have the capacity to expand it in this first year, once we see that we're ready to expand it.
So currently, you can still apply for the neighborhood dumpsters to come, but your neighborhood hopefully will get hit, and so is with the yellow ones. But as of right now, would the expectation be that once every 5 years, it will come to your neighborhood?
The yellow box program?
Yeah.
So I don't know that I would say that was the expectation. So
Okay.
what we're trying to do is we're trying to, what we're doing is we're taking 5 years. 5 years seems like a long time to not have some kind of cleanup in your neighborhood, right? So one of the other things we found is that even though we have 55% repeat customers, on the white box neighborhood cleanup program that we've done, we've made changes in history to actually be able to serve more people. So when we first started that program, which actually Cynthia was hired to start that program.
Yeah.
When we first started that program, we would do like one roll-off per like 8 houses. Well, we found out that we could serve more houses with those boxes. So, then we go to 10, then we go to 15. And so we've even expanded that to be able to serve more of the community. And so what we found when we did these maps is we do a good job canvassing the city with those boxes. And so we have already realized that we're probably going to have to go to the 4 or the 3-year mark probably within the first year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And Mayor and Councilmember Councilmember Spilsbury, I just want to add too that we also have the team up to clean up with code that are utilizing
That's
the
still
containers
happening. Okay.
as well. And we were very purposeful in when we want to do the colors of the containers. We wanted to make sure that there was the neighborhood cleanup and then the community cleanup. It can get... When we started gating alleys, and the reason you see them green is because when we were abandoning alleys, neighborhoods were abandoning alleys, that was the silver galvanized fence. When the calls started coming in, we didn't want to be confused. Is your alley abandoned? Is this the alley gating program and stuff? So when somebody says, I have a green gate, it made us understand, oh, we know exactly what they're talking about. So when we get a call and says, I've got some containers in my neighborhood, what color are your containers? They're white. Oh, okay, we automatically know, and so this will help us. Plus, they're a ray of sunshine, the community, when they come into your neighborhood. So we just wanted to make that differentiate that program.
Great, thank you.
Councilmember Heredia.
Real quick, thank you. I think this program and when we put these trash bins in neighborhoods, people appreciate them tremendously. I think it's one of the better programs that we can do to just alleviate some of the waste that happens in neighborhoods, right? And so the more, I think, the better. However, we can figure out the data piece and looking at even like, I'm sure we collect some data around bulk pickup and how do we layer that piece on top of the data work that you have here. What I noticed, because we did get in my neighborhood some of the white bins and kind of this timidness, is this for us? So I had people ask me, like, can we dump, our waste there? And I was like, yes, you can. And so maybe in some of the postcard looks pretty packed with information, but on the website saying that, residents can use this, right? Or however we can like highlight that you can use this, because that's one of the feedback that I received from residents. Is this for the household in front of them, or there's this not understanding still that folks around it can throw their trash there. So that would be my only feedback there, based on what I heard recently when some of these white containers were in my neighborhood. And so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was going to be my only comment. In fact, I would say, can you just put it on the box? Can you put these instructions right on the box so that people drive? Because not everybody in the household gets the card, right? And you're driving by, and then here's who can use it, and here's how you use it.
We can look at that.
We can absolutely look at that.
Councilmember Adams.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I'd be supportive of Councilmember Goforth's comment, I think, and I'd even go beyond that. I like the logo. I think people will register with it once they realize what it is. This is good. I wonder, would it be reasonable to put an indication of what you can't put in there on the box? Like no tires, no old motor oil, no this, no that. People will get the card, but when it's time to load the roll-off up, maybe it'd be good to look at that. I like the fact that it's data-driven as opposed to where shall we put the next 4. I think that's really smart. My question is, what do we do when we come to pick it up if we find 12 tires and a bunch of motor oil in there? What do we do about that?
So Mayor, Councilmember Adams, we have eyes on these containers, the white box container program as well as the yellow box container program. We have inspectors in the field that will inspect these every morning before they're hauled. If they find stuff like that in there, they will take them out of the container. And we have the household hazardous materials facility, so we will transport the material there, just so that it is out of the container. It comes from a household, so it can be put in there. And so we do have eyes on those containers to look for stuff like that.
Okay, and I understand that's after the fact. I just wonder if we start to have a problem with commercial inappropriate use, if there would be some way to monitor and enforce. I realize that's a big task, and it would probably just be appropriate to see what the level of abuse is. But overall, I'm very supportive. I think this is a great program. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
All right, I'll just add that one thing I've noticed is the debris around the containers after people, it'd be nice they clean up after themselves instead of leaving it around the container sometimes. So, and then maybe a line item can be put on here, please clean up after yourself or around the container itself, just something I observed. And how's the budgeting for this program? Do you have enough monies to implement the program and move forward with?
Yeah, so Mayor, Council, we currently have enough funding for the one truck with the containers to run basically one route for a year. You approved that, gosh, I want to say maybe 2 budget cycles ago. So we do have the funding for this program.
Okay, good. And I see to Mr. Brady's point, we might collaborate or bring these 2 programs together in the future, which would be nice to see yellow containers all throughout the city instead of a
Yes.
white one and a yellow one.
Cynthia and I would be very happy.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, you'll probably have support of that. Anything else, council? Okay, hearing none, we'll move over to item 3. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
To acknowledge receipt of board minutes and approval of executive session minutes. Do I have a motion?
So,
Okay, a motion is second by Ms. Spilsbury. All in favor, say aye. 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 Any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you. With that, next is the current events and conferences attended. Council members, do you have anything? Ms. Spilsbury?
Just wanted to thank all of our incredible staff that worked on the point in time count this week. I know you were out there. I went over and visited at, where did I visit? St. Vincent de Paul, there you go. Just to see the really great work that's being done there and making sure that all of these people are counted and get the help and resources that they need. So I wanted to thank everyone that was part of that.
Okay. Anybody else? You want to talk about your Asian district sign?
Yeah. Yesterday, we announced the additional monument signage in the Asian district. Pretty huge signs, with some lighting, and so they're along Dobson and close to the Main Street and Dobson intersection. So if you have time, stop by and eat at the Macon Center or H Mart area and view the signs there. So thank you.
Good. Thank you. Those are beautiful signs. Enjoyed being there. Well, if nothing else, I did participate in the point in time count. In fact, there was a structure fire that morning started by some homeless person apparently having a warming fire next to a building. So that was mitigated. And then I had a good time working with our community action officers that morning and interacting with a lot of the homeless in our area. I also attended Mesa School Board meeting this past week and also attended the Fountain Hill State of the Town address. And then the Mayor's Youth Committee met at Red Mountain Library and had a good visit with the youth there. So with that, if there's nothing else about this, would you like to?
Oh, well.
he's passing it down.
I really enjoyed
Well, we can all take a turn.
Yeah, the funeral yesterday for Sergeant Keeling was beautiful, and 30 years of service to our community, and he was going to retire in May, so way too young. And but it was beautiful to hear Chief Koss talk about him, and I see that service for him yesterday.
And Chief Koss and he were in the same academy together.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes it personal. Okay, with that, gosh, Mr. Brady, can you share the schedule of future meetings?
Yes, thank you. Just reminder, we will have our next council meeting will be Monday, February 3rd. It came quickly after just this past Monday. And then we will not have a study session on the 6th, but we'll meet again on February 13th. Thank you.
Very good. Hearing nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Just for the public to be aware too, our second council meeting in February is the last Monday of the week of the month because of President's Day. So just so that people are aware of when those meetings are.
Okay, thank
And
you.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Ms. Spilsbury. Is there a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. No one opposes it, so we'll move forward.